What if Naruto x Shinobu x Mitsuri x Dabi x Nezuko Part 1? My dear Sansto, you know why you were born stronger than others? So the two of you can save weaker people. Those who were born blessed with more gifts than others are obligated to use those gifts for the world and other people. Do you understand? You must never use that God-given strength to hurt others or for selfish gain. It is the duty of those born strong to help the weak. It is a mission each of you must fulfill responsibly. Make sure you never forget that. Bear the flame in your heart. Burn evil demons and shine gently on human beings. Hold in your heart a flame like the sun, but also protect one another. Look out for each other. And above all live. Ruka Rengoku. Set your hearts ablaze. A human's driving force is the heart. Like a raging fire, their spirit, their will, transcends life and death. What's that? All human hearts are the same? Fragile and weak? Like glasswork? Who decided that? They're our hearts. Our souls. Our memories. We decide if they shatter or not. Us. No one else. A heart isn't made of glass. It's fire. That drive to exist, the will to persist despite all else. Life will always persist in some form or another. Even in the face of oblivion. Mine ended when I beat that damn Ishiki to a pulp. No karma to save him. No last-minute miracle, no message beyond death, no grand scheme to destroy the world, none of it. Complete and total annihilation. His vile dream died with him. I guess Baryon mode was worth it, in the end, even if it cost me my life. Sorry, Kurama. Both our lives. I wish you could have lived, too. It's funny, you know? I thought I'd die with no regrets. But now that I'm here, lying on the ground, I have them. I have so damn many of them. I didn't hug my son enough. I didn't tell my daughter I loved her enough. That day, I never kissed my wife goodbye. I didn't tell my best friend how much I valued that friendship. It's dark. I can't feel my arms and legs. I may not have a body anymore, but I can't stop crying. Can a soul cry? I don't know. Feels like it. I can't stand this agony in my chest. It keeps swelling up. My heart's going to burst any second now. No, 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 no. It can't end like this. No, I refuse to go out like this. I won't let us fade away like some forgotten memory. There's still so much good we could do. If not for this world, then the next. Give us a second chance. Please. I beg of you. If not me, then at least Kurama. He shouldn't have to fade away with me. I was the weakling. I wasn't strong enough without his help. I am so sorry. If we were to be reborn, if fate gave us a second chance, even if it was in another place, another time, we'd protect everyone we could. Every last one. Please. If there's a higher power out there, I'm begging you. Please, just one chance. That's all we need. Just one. Then we can finally rest in peace. I already made friends with the demon once. I'll do it again. Just you wait. Even better than last time, even if I'm reborn as someone else. Even I don't remember at first. Even if I forget. I'm still me, after all. 0.0.0.02. Sleepy. Ruto, ignore the voice. Naruto, ignore that cheeky bastard before him. A pillow slammed down on his face, dragging him back to the waking world. He grabbed it and flung it back. Someone laughed. That's the spirit. Against his better judgment, the blond boy batted another pillow aside and creaked an eye open. Bright red eyes beamed back at him, framed by dark brows and a sunny smile alongside a messy mane of golden hair tinged with hints of red. He'd seen this face countless times before in his childhood, a grinning visage not unlike his own, full of boundless optimism and determination to face the world at large. Of course he'd seen it before. They were twins after all. Twins that couldn't be more unalike, yet twins nevertheless. Kaijuro? A low growl pierced the air as he warded off a second pillow. What do you want? He cast a gaze to the window and glowered when he saw the sun not quite peeking over the horizon. It's too damn early. Not at all. How could anyone be this chipper so early in the morning was beyond him. It's precisely the time of day to practice our breathing forms. Silence reigned supreme. Ha! He took a moment to squint at his sibling while his vision cleared. As ever, his brother's eyes were a vibrant red, while his were blue. His face handsome, while his stood carved with strange whiskered marks tripling each cheek. Kaijuro's hair was flecked with red, and yet his held barely a hint of it. Technically speaking, he was the older brother here. He'd been born nearly a full minute earlier, something he often forgot, because his so-called little brother was just so damned persistent. And what was this about training at the crack of dawn? Are you kidding me? A muscle jumped in Naruto's jaw. That's why you woke me up? Said jaw stretched as he yawned. I swear by the sage, one of these days I'm gonna smack you. His brother blinked, pillow poised in the air for a third and final strike. What's a sage? Naruto blinked. Huh. Where had that word come from? What was a sage? How was he to know? He was only 10. Something itched at the back of his head. He dismissed it with another yawn. It was entirely too early for this. The rest of the household wasn't even awake yet. Dad was probably sound asleep, and Mom, too. Their baby brother, Senjuro, certainly was. And yet Kaijuro was so damn chipper. Impossible. Utterly impossible. The pillow swung in again with intent and struck his face, muffling him for the merest of moments. Naruto yanked the blankets up over his head and hunkered down. Let me sleep, damn it. I cannot. His brother latched onto the covers in turn and yanked them off. You'll sleep all day again. He grimaced and hunkered down again, burying his face in a pillow. Come on, you know I'm no good with a sword. That's not true. Here at last, a twinge of pity touched his sibling's voice. His grip slackened. You're improving bit by bit. You just have to work at it. Dark clouds settled over Naruto's thoughts. Improving? Him? He really wasn't. There was just something about swinging a blade that didn't sit well with him. He could swing it just fine, mind you, and he had the basic stances down, but no matter what he did, his body just refused to cooperate. Whenever someone put a sword in his hands, wooden or otherwise, he kept settling into the wrong stance. Like he wanted to use his fists or something. How absurd was that? Father had a good laugh the first time he'd seen it. Are you going to beat the demons to death, boy? Now it was less a laughing matter and more of an embarrassment for him. Father never let his frustration show, but Naruto's humiliation burned all the same. He couldn't seem to overcome this wall. Was there some trick he was missing? Was it merely a matter of hardening his heart? Or was he simply not meant to wield a blade? Besides that, surely there were some good demons out there, right? They couldn't be all bad, right? And why did he feel like he was forgetting something? His head itched. Just thinking about it put him in a bad mood all over again. Rather than dwell on it, Naruto huffed, tore the sheets back, and curled them around himself. Denied his grip, Kaijuro toppled back and landed hard on his rear. He got a good view of his brother's startled face before he dove back under again. Ha! Served him right. He wouldn't be able to get to him now. Sooner or later he'd let him be. He always did. If you don't get up, Kaijuro's muffled voice resounded ominously from beyond his cocoon of covers. I'll be forced to take drastic measures. Drastic. Right. These days, his brother's idea of drastic was anything but. He'd tattle on him, and he'd get a lecture from the old man or mom. Nothing major. They wouldn't be angry. Just disappointed. He'd grown used to being the family failure. Do it then. He rolled over. Tell on me. I don't care. A beat of silence passed between the two twins. Sure enough, nothing happened. His victory assured, Naruto rolled over with a sigh and began to drift off. He wanted to dream again. It had been such a pleasant dream. He wanted to cling on to it, and never let it go. He could be a hero in his dreams, not the failure of a son who was unable, or maybe just unwilling, to swing a sword against demons. His breathing began to even out as he lay sprawled amongst the bedding. For a moment, he glimpsed a woman with dark hair. She seemed so sad. She saw him in turn, and pivoted to face him. He couldn't see her face, for it was shrouded in shadow. There were 2 children with her, nestled against her hips. A boy with blonde hair, and a girl with dark tresses. He couldn't see their faces either. It was maddening. Don't cling to the past, Papa. The girl's lips curled in a faint smile. Be happy. A strange feeling gnawed at his chest. It felt like guilt. Why? He'd never seen these three before. And yet this feeling persisted. Like an itch he couldn't scratch. He should have protected them. Why couldn't he protect them? Something cold and wet crashed down on the blankets, soaking them and Naruto, right down to the bone. Water! Cold. Blue eyes burst open, rimmed with a hint of red. He sniffled once, not quite comprehending what happened. Crying? Had he been crying in his sleep? Absurd. Why was I? Another bucket of water crashed down on him, and that was it. Naruto didn't so much sit up as he did thrash his way upward with a howl. Kaijuro! Sure enough, he found Rengoku clutching 2 empty pails in each hand, grinning from ear to ear. Finally awake, I see. Good. Now we can begin. Begin what? Naruto absolutely twitched. Damn it. I was having a really good dream. You'll pay for that. His brother set one bucket down, planted a foot atop it, and beckoned. You'll have to catch me first. It wasn't hard to see where this was going, much less what Kaijuro was doing. His twin was jabbing him, taunting him, trying to get him out of bed and likewise out of the funk he'd fallen into as of late. Was it working? Maybe a little. In that moment he felt a touch of pride for his overzealous brother. Unfortunately it was overshadowed by all this unyielding rage. Naruto began to crack his knuckles, one by one. I hope you've said your prayers, you big lug. Rather than face his wrath, Kaijuro grinned and bolted around the corner. He slammed after him. Come back here, that's the spirit. Laughter echoed through the halls as he gave chase. We'll both be Hashira one day, Naruto. I just know it. Bold words. He dove after him. The only thing you're gonna be is a bruise when I'm done with you. A red eye gleamed over his shoulder. Only if you can catch me, brother. Naruto tried to. Really, he did. He simply couldn't. More than one his fingers came close, brushing his brother's shoulder, only for his sibling to pivot at the last instant, or duck back in the opposite direction. Say what you would about the younger Rengoku and his smile, but he was fast. Hold still, never. You'll just have to run faster. Why am I always the one running after you? It was always like this, in part because it never felt like he could quite reach him. Kaijuro was always just a little faster when it came to chases such as these, always just out of reach, like chasing the sun. Ever present, always there, yet unreachable. Unobtainable. Yet, in that same vein, he wasn't so far away that Naruto hated him. Quite the contrary. Was this what it felt like to have an actual sibling? A true brother in blood? Someone who supported you, someone who was always there for you, someone who refused to let you fall down in the dumps. And when you did, they dragged you back up, kicking and screaming. It felt nice. He'd never known the like in his first life. Maybe if he had, things wouldn't have. Wait. My first life? A crippling nausea struck him and he missed a critical step. Momentum was not kind. He slipped and slammed headlong into a wall. Striking his head didn't help. It only made things worse. He clutched at his face with one hand, a blue eye peeking out between his fingers. The world blurred. Shifted. Snapped back. He'd not eaten anything yet this morning, yet what little he had last night threatened to come boiling up the back of his throat and onto the floor. He slumped to his knees and his fingers bit into the plaster until they ached. Not again! He hissed at himself. Don't get distracted. He used the pain to center himself, and steadying his breath. Total concentration. In. Out. In. Out. Oxygen flooded his blood and the tattered threads of his focus sharpened to a razor's edge. Gradually, the vague feeling of illness receded into the depths of his mind. He slammed a lid on it and buried it as deep as he possibly could. It would return, it always did, but for now he'd pushed it back. A thin line of blood ran down his nose. He thumbed it away with a trembling hand. Naruto looked left. Naruto looked right. Not a soul in sight. Still, he was almost certain someone would spring out of the shadows, perhaps a nearby doorway, or barring that, Kaijuro would double back to check on him. He'd see him in his moment of weakness and tell father, who would in turn tell mother. Once he did, that would be it. He'd be right back where he started, an endless carousel of doctors trying to diagnose him, figure out what was wrong with him, all while his family fretted in the background. He didn't want them to think he was sick again. He'd gotten better. The tremors had stopped. He hadn't had a fit in years. Why now? I'm fine, he muttered to himself. Stop having weird thoughts. Get up. Kaijuro's waiting for you. Don't disappoint him. He pushed himself up to a knee, only for his leg to buckle. Bereft of balance, he tumbled forward. Crap, he swore softly. I misjudged. I'm gonna fall. A hand caught his, pulling him up. I've got you. Naruto knew better than to look, just as he knew who had saved him from making a fool of himself. Against his better judgment, he raised his gaze. Shame flooded his face. I'm fine. I just tripped. No need to tell anyone. I won't. His brother beamed. Your secret is safe with me. He knew Kaijuro didn't believe a word he'd said. But for once, he didn't argue with him. Come. He hauled him upright. The day won't wait for us. I'll make a proper swordsman out of you yet. Naruto blew out a sigh. Such a persistent brother I have. Confident that no one else had seen his momentary lapse, Naruto climbed to his feet and hastened after Kaijuro. One of these days he swore he'd catch up to him. Someday. Someday soon. Even if he was absolute pants when it came to a sword right now, even if he kept hearing voices, he wanted to try. Maybe it was his brother's contagious enthusiasm. The gap between them would close. It had to, bit by bit. Eventually. For now, he would keep running. Like a leaf in the wind. Always. No matter what obstacles he faced. Until he too set his heart ablaze. A blazing red blade slammed down at Naruto's head. Time unfolded slowly, blue eyes bulging as the undulating flames of the sword filled his vision and burned itself into his retina. Dead. He was going to die. If that him, he would absolutely cease to exist. A low roar swelled in his ears. Not the heat of the inferno bearing down on him, but rather the own frantic hammering of his heart as he stared death in the face. He blinked and reality snapped back like a rubber band. Then he was moving, pivoting, twisting his hips as he brought his borrowed katana around to meet it, trailing. Not head on. He didn't dare. He absolutely did not dare. While he knew he could match his opponent blow for blow, his sword would not. It would shatter, leaving him defenseless. Instead he raised his weapon at an angle, deflecting what would have been a decapitating stroke up at the last instant. Sparks skittered, fire splashed into his face, forcing him to squint against the light for all of an instant. Yet for all that, he wasn't burned. The heat flashed by, leaving him untouched. The flames loved him. That was the only explanation that made a lick of sense after all these years of training. While his tried and true instinct still wrestled with him on more than one occasion, the art of flame breathing itself seemed to be fond of him. Almost frightfully so. Then the blade came in again and Naruto had no more time for thought. Not so close. Demons won't wait for you to recover, boy. Rather than retort, he struck the flat of the blade with his palm, diverting it by a hair's breadth. Enough for his borrowed blade to catch it on the backswing. Even then the sheer force behind the blow threatened to rip the sword from his grasp. Rather than resist, he gave ground and rode out the force, using it to leap away. A bemused grunt told him he'd succeeded in at least surprising his opponent. Rightfully so. These days he didn't so much struggle with his sword as he did struggle to control his own strength. First form. He inhaled sharply, fire gathering in his lungs, body temperature rising as he stepped inward. Unknowing fire! Azure flames leaped from his blade, baleful blue fire scorching the air before him. It wanted to do more. The heat wanted to be set loose. To be free. To burn. He grabbed it and marshaled it, conjuring a wall of molten fire between him and death. His foe cut through it. Live steel. It would maim him if it struck. The blaze slowed the edge for but a moment, time enough for him to leap into the blaze, grab his enemy by the coat, and, Ora! Shinjiro Rengoku was not known for being terribly expressive in combat. Nevertheless, he cried out in surprise when his own son reached through the fire and flames to fling him over his shoulder. It didn't stop him for long. Even as he fell, his sword flitted out toward his back. They both knew it for a desperate move, unlikely to connect. Naruto ducked it, and cut out at Shinjuro's knees before he hit the ground, forcing his sire into a clumsy block. His left knee struck the dirt a moment later, but he wasn't given time to rise. Gripping his blade in both hands, the younger blonde hammered down on him, raining strike after strike into his father's guard. Each blow forced his arm and by extension his blade further out from his body. He had him this time. He just knew it. A sudden flash of heat was his only warning. Second form, not this time. You're not hitting me with that again. Naruto planted his feet, grit his teeth, and caught the strike on his cross guard. It rattled his arms, but he held fast. Shinjuro tried to push from a kneeling position, seeking to use his superior strength to overpower him. Imagine his surprise when another deflection came. Downward this sang as it buried itself in the damp ground, sheathed nearly to the hilt. Naruto stomped down on it with his right foot, driving the weapon deep. Live steel, sharp enough to draw blood, to end a life. He took a moment to savor the surprise on his father's face before he struck. Levering himself up on that very same hilt, he spun and smashed a knee into his father's chin. For the first time in 16 years, the flame Hashira went down in a heap. Naruto waited for his old man to rise, as he always had. Any moment now he'd spring to his feet and make him rue the day. He'd done it before. His eyes snapped to where his father's blade lay, far and out of reach. A hand rose, perhaps to try and grasp it. No, an open palm struck the dirt instead. Once. Twice. Thrice. In that moment something came loose inside him. 3 swift strides carried him forward. The tapered tip of his borrowed blade kissed the underside of his father's chin. He almost couldn't believe it. Had he really? No tricks. No traps. Shinjuro was still conscious, still very much breathing, but he made no move to rise. Get up. Naruto prodded him once. We're not done. No, we are. His father disagreed, gazing up at the cloud-spattered afternoon sky. A hint of sunlight broke through, shining down on them both. You pass. Naruto nearly dropped his sword. Old drunk, say what now? Did I stutter? Dad gave his knee a half-hearted kick from where he lay. You pass. The words were a cool blanket of relief, soothing his ragged nerves. A triumphant grin bloomed across his whiskered face. Ha! Shinjuro was a Hashira for a reason. Not only was he a monster in armed combat, but he was ruthless when it came to training. In combat, every opening was something to be exploited. To ignore such was to die. He and Kaijiro had become more and more powerful as the years swept by, but Dad always seemed just out of reach. Today was the first day he'd landed a clean hit on him. Twice at that. Made him feel warm and fuzzy, it did. Sheathing his sword took a physical effort on Naruto's part, if only because his fingers were trembling from excitement. Final selection would be weight. That was tomorrow, wasn't it? His and Kaijuro's last test before they became true slayers. Only 2 days ago his beloved brother had already proven himself worthy. He was off making final preparations for his journey up the mountain. Tomorrow he would head to Mount Fujikasen to be tested, and he just won the right to go with him. It felt good. Really good. Naruto tilted his head back, basking in the sun and the knowledge that he'd won. He'd proven himself above all. A faint scent reached his nose. Naruto sniffed, frowned, as he recognized it. I know that smell. Blue eyes narrowed to thin cerulean slits. Shinjuro looked thoroughly dazed, and in no hurry to rise. Didn't take much to realize why. He'd called him an old drunk in jest earlier, because like it or not, the old geezer had taken to drinking as of late. Never when he was training them, and certainly not when he was off on a mission, but this was a first. Naruto's good mood evaporated like so much morning mist. His arms snaked out like a viper. His hand plucked at his father's coat, hauling him into an upright position. Blue eyes met red, and the latter were nothing short of hazy. He sniffed again and caught the pungent odor of sake on his breath. Are you drunk? Shinjuro looked away, face gone pensive. No. A muscle jumped in the younger blonde's jaw. Daewad. Snarling, he caught the older man by his face and pinched his cheek. Ow! The older man put up a token resistance, but his laughter sounded painfully forced. Easy there. You still beat me. Anger took wing in his heart, beating up a storm in his veins. Naruto released him and flung up his arms. You're impossible. Times like these worried him, if only because could feel his father's fire, his spirit, starting to wane. He was putting an effort in for them now, trying to put on a brave face, but if Mom died, that might go out entirely. He wouldn't be a shell of his former self, ruined and pitted by his loss. As would they all, because make no mistake, Ruka Rengoku was dying. It had been a slow decline. Her health hadn't worsened out of the blue, rather, she simply started to wane. Now she scarcely left her bed. Was it poison? A curse? Just her time? The doctors couldn't say. Their medicine did nothing to help her. Day by day she grew weaker. If this continued, sooner or later she would. No, he shoved the thought away. Don't think about it. Senjuro gazed up at him, awaiting his judgment. Somehow that made it so much worse. I met a great man, once. He taught me so many things, back when I didn't know what I wanted to do. I stumbled so many times. When his father looked away and he yanked him back. But he always caught me. His words always stuck with me. He saved so many lives with nothing but a sword. Both men looked to his fallen blade across the yard. I suppose you could say he inspired me. I learned a lot from watching him. Do you know who I'm talking about? Silence reigned supreme between father and son. Naruto's right eye twitched. His hand blurred, and Shinjuro's head snapped to the side, bearing a bright red handprint across his cheek. That's right. The whiskered warrior lowered his hand, palms stinging. You! Another strike sent him sprawling into the dirt. Snap out of it, old man. Now isn't the time to be sulking. A third blow rocked his sire back into the dirt. Mom needs you. We need you. No more drinking. You hear me? He wound up for a fourth blow. Act your damn age. Or I'll keep punching you. A hand caught his wrist and squeezed, grinding the bones together painfully. Shinjuro glowered up at him from the ground, face gone red. Naruto wondered if he would strike him. One goose smack would send him flying, and at this range, he had no way of dodging. He still stood his ground. If a punch was the price to pay for a pep talk, then he'd bear it gladly. Well? He growled, butting his head against his. Have I gotten through to you? He wasn't prepared for tears. They came suddenly, spattering the dusty ground at their feet. Thank you? His father wouldn't look at him, but his voice was a gravelly sigh as he wiped his face. I think I needed that. They both did, more than he knew. But he couldn't give up so easily. I won't let Mom die. His father growled, then seemed to think better of it, mastering himself. Naruto, there's no way to save her. There has to be. He squirmed free from his father's grasp and stomped off. We just haven't found a way. There must be. You'll see. Unbeknownst to him, Shinjuro heaved a sigh. Such a stubborn son I have. His gaze strayed to his fallen sword, cast by the wayside. After a moment's hesitation he retrieved it, just as heavy as he remembered. Such was the weight of a life. 0.0.0.0. The door slid apart with a wordless sigh. You awake in there, Mom? Ruka Rengoku cracked a red eye open with a soft sigh. The mere act of doing so drained her. Sitting up unaided proved an effort in and of itself these days, if only because her trembling limbs and brittle bones didn't wish to support her. So heavy. Sometimes it felt like it was all she could do to keep herself awake, as if she would just one day close her eyes and never open them again. By rights, she should have died long ago. She knew that. How was it she'd lasted this long? Perseverance? Faith? Blind bloody luck? How silly of her. She already knew the answer. Love kept her going. Love for her dear Shinjuro, who would be so very lost without her. Love for children, her fiery twins Naruto and Kaijuro, and little Senjuro, still too young for the harsh reality of this world. Love and willpower were all that kept her going these days. She'd held out this long through determination and little else. Naruto coughed, reclaiming her attention once more. She smiled for his sake. He looked so dashing today in that red-on-gold Haori of his. The coat matched his hair perfectly, yet contrasted nicely with his dark navy yukata and black hakama pants. At 16 years, her little boy had grown up. Just looking at him now put a smile on her face. I do hope he finds himself a proper wife someday. Of course, saying such would embarrass him, and so she held her tongue. You have your blade, I trust? Yeah. Naruto patted the worn hilt in his sash and grunted his acknowledgement. Kaijuro had one just like it. One day they would have their own Nichiren swords. But for now, these would do. Her husband's spare blades would see them through final selection. And in time, they would forge their own. Destiny awaited. They had but to grasp it with their own hands. Have you come for my blessing, then? Her smile was wan, even by her standards. You know you don't need it. Her son laid his sword on the mat and knelt before her. I don't want to go. Ruka recognized the unspoken plea. Don't make me leave. He feared this might be the last time he saw her. Rightfully so. You'll be fine. She folded her hands in her lap and smiled for his sake. Look after your brother, won't you? His laughter was soft, bitter through his teeth. Think it's the other way around there, Mom. No, no, no. That wouldn't do. She opened her arms to him. Come here. The boy blinked. Eh? Come on, I'm a little old for that. Ruka spread her arms yet wider and looked at her son. That glare had brought Hashira to heel. More than once, demons cowered before the fire in her eyes. Though she wasn't a slayer, she was not without her own skills, nor so helpless as she appeared. Naruto was many things, but at the end of the day was very much a mother's boy. He folded beneath her gaze and shifted closer on his knees. Just an inch. Just a touch. Just a tad. It was enough. The moment he drew near, Ruka grabbed him and hauled him into her bosom. Hey! He grunted in surprise. What are you doing, silly boy? Her chin came down atop his head, locking him in place. He really was like a furnace. Just holding him brought strength back to her numb fingers, and for a blessed moment, merely by holding him close, she felt like she could live a little longer. Foolishness, of course. No one could stave off death forever, not even her stubborn son. Her journey was coming to an end. If that had been a good life, she'd lived it to the fullest, not as the warrior she'd initially wanted to be, but as a mother. Ruka liked to think she'd made peace with that. Her path, once filled with pain, had finally reached its conclusion. But her sons had only just begun to tread down that road. Naruto and Kaijuro would go far. She knew it. Even little Senjuro, who ever followed his older brothers about like a lost puppy, would they become something grand. Mom? Ah, but her eldest was speaking to her, and she must attend. You know, Ruka held him a little tighter. I once said these words to your brother. I'll say the same to you. She swallowed once to steel herself. I don't have much time left in this world. He tensed in her arms. Don't say that. Nevertheless, I feel so blessed to have been your mother. He made a noise of anger. Stop. Don't talk like that. You've still got plenty of. Sure, she kissed his head. Let me finish while I can still speak. Before that too is taken from me. He clammed up. Such a good son. Ruka's room spun around her and bile rose in her throat. No. Not bile. Blood. Her atrophied lungs ached, trying to cough, but she clawed the fit away and swallowed anew. The mere act of doing so threatened to bring tears to her eyes, but she refused to shed them. She'd already cried with Kaijuro earlier today. That had already taken so much from her. She refused to let her emotions slip a second time. Not here. Not now. Not before she saw her son off. Sometimes I find it hard to believe I gave birth to such a caring and gentle child. Her hand stroked the back of his head, running in smooth circles. Nothing could make me prouder. He'd been such a depressed child at first. Bless his brother, he'd found his way past that. In time he would find someone of his own. Perhaps you should take a wife for yourself. Her tongue betrayed her as surely as her body had. Love's a wonderful thing. You should experience it at least once in your life. Naruto buried his face in her shoulder to hide his blush. Mom, so very kind. She hummed. You would even spare a demon if you could. A lone tear escaped her right eye, rolled down her cheek, and splashed into her son's hair. She knew Naruto felt it, because he sucked in a breath. It almost sounded like a sob. "Do not cry for me." She nuzzled her forehead to his. "If you want to do something for me, then live once I am gone." This might well be her last moment holding him. She intended to make it count. "Live your life, settle down, find yourself a nice girl or two, and have lots of children." When he tried to protest, she tweaked his ear. "Live in the future, not the past. And remember, never run. Never die. Hold your head high in all that you do." "I will." He drew away at last, trying not to look at her pale skin, trying not to notice that she'd become terribly thin. "But you're gonna be fine. There's a cure out there. I just know it. Oh, my sweet summer child." She would spare him the pain of failure, if she could. Kaijuro knew she was going to die. He'd accepted it in his own way. Shinjuro avoided the subject like the plague, while Senjuro was yet too young to truly understand. Ignorance was bliss on that front. But Naruto, there could be no changing his mind, and so, like a good mother, Ruka did not try. "Go on, now." She nudged him. "Once your brother's waiting for you." She could see the anguish in his eyes, see that he wanted to stay. Caught between a rock and a hard place, unwilling to go, yet unable to stay and watch her waste away. "Go." Ruka swallowed her tears and gave her boy another, gentler nudge. "I'll see you when you return." The hope in his eyes was almost painful to behold. "Promise?" "Yes." She hooked her pinky with his, as she'd once done when he was small. "I expect to hear a great many stories when you pass your trial." He didn't hear the lie in her words. "Yeah. Just you wait." He darted back in and gave her a brisk hug. "I'll find a cure for you. I swear." "I know you will, my beautiful boy." His face flamed red and he snatched up his sword, then slammed the door. Ruka listened to the sound of his footsteps, waited until she could no longer hear made certain he was gone. Only then did she break. "Ack!" Blood burst from her lips as she doubled over and coughed. What little strength his presence gave went with it. It wasn't fair. None of it was. She wanted to see Naruto grow into the splendid young man she knew he would be. She longed to hear Kaijuro laugh as he introduced her to his future wife. She wished more than anything to see Senjuro grow into a splendid swordsman. To chuckle as the Shinjuros made a fool of himself over their future grandchildren. She wouldn't live to see any of it. How long did she have left? A week? A month? Perhaps a year if the gods smiled on her? Not long enough. Not nearly long enough. A lone tear struck the floor and that was it. The floodgates opened and she broke. Ruka stifled a wail against her palm. "I want to live." 0.0.0.0. Naruto leaned against the wall nearest to the door, hidden just out of sight. He'd hesitated on a whim, wanting to make sure she was all right. Now he wished he hadn't. His heart twisted as he heard the pitiful sounds she made. Those 4 little words. Even then he didn't reveal himself for fear of causing her further pain. No, he didn't speak a single sentence. Not a word. Instead he lingered, listening to every sound she made, every gasp of pain, and carved it into his soul. His poor ears were only granted a reprieve when Ruka Rengoku cried herself to sleep. Only then did he finally find the strength to venture outside. His mother's pain only reaffirmed his resolve to save her. He'd find a cure. So he swore. 0.0.0.0. "We'll make camp here. Is that all right?" Naruto grunted and he laid out his bedroll under the stars. Nothing more. His brother's reticence worried Kaijuro more than words could possibly hope to express. He'd not said a thing since they'd left home. Even now, miles from home, with the distant Spectre Mountain looming on the horizon, still he refused to speak. Alone, that wasn't any cause for true concern, but the stiffness of his movements were. He wasn't controlling his breathing. Those once vibrant blue eyes were distant. Vacant. Hollow. His thoughts were elsewhere, and wherever they were not on the task at hand. He wondered how long his foul mood would last. Hopefully it would clear up with the dawn. Mount Fujikase was quite the distance days away. No matter how quickly they moved, they couldn't reach it before nightfall regardless of how much his brother wanted to press on. They'd found a traveler's rest on the road, little more than an old lean-to that someone hadn't bothered to clean out in some time. A bit of busywork saw it fit to use, The assorted twigs and leaves proved decent fuel to get a fire going. Beyond that lay a ring of large stones, the purpose of which he didn't understand. In the end, though he dismissed them, he couldn't dismiss his sibling. Brother? No response. Kaijuro stifled a sigh. This wasn't something a prank could solve. Only time. I'll take first watch. Naruto broke the tableau between them abruptly, head rising to regard the starry sky above. Get some sleep. 0.0.0.0. Rarark. Flesh met stone and the latter yielded. Naruto punched the boulder with all his might. Thin fractures etched themselves across its smooth surface, but the rock held. His temper did not. Anger boiled in his blood, urging him on. He roared and slugged the rock again, driving his knuckles deep into the flinty surface. Those flimsy fractures became fissures, deep cracks carving themselves across the boulder's face. Still it stood fast. Mocking him, he was half tempted to hack at it with his borrowed blade, but he wasn't so far gone as to risk his only weapon. All this power, he grumbled to himself, and for what? His bloody knuckles held no answers for him. He slugged the boulder again. What's the point of even trying to become a demon slayer if I can't save my own mother? Lost gnawed at him, not just now, but faint and familiar. As if he'd experienced this before. Somewhere. In another life. He glared at the boulder and experienced the wild flash of someone with red hair. Someone who most assuredly wasn't Ruka Rengoku. The memory slipped through his fingers even as he grasped at it. His eyes were itching. He didn't realize they'd blazed red. It's not fair. His fist cracked out, and he felt something snap in one of his fingers. His pinky finger twisted painfully. He spun away with a hiss, clutching at it. I'd give anything to save her. So why can't I? A low chuckle echoed behind him. Would you now? Naruto whirled and found someone sitting astride the very boulder he just struck. A beautiful woman gazed down at him, smiling in the moonlight. Pale was her face, her scarlet cat-like eyes the deepest shade of red he'd ever seen, framed by hair so dark it may well have been cut from midnight itself. Dark ringlets sheltered her face, the rest bound up by a string of scarlet beads that clinked softly when she shifted her weight to one side. Clad in a flowing black kimono like some courtesan of old, she gazed upon him without a hint of fear. Just how much would you give, I wonder? Those bestial eyes regarded him as a lion would a sheep. Your sword? Your life? Your very soul? He tried to speak, but for the first time in forever, his tongue failed him. I'm sorry, she purred with a voice sweeter than sin. I simply couldn't help but overhear your plight. Overhear him how? He hadn't even heard her coming. And those eyes, they were fixated upon his hand. His bloody hand. Oh dear. She tooted. You're wounded. Here. Let me see it. Faster than he could blink, the strange woman reached down from the boulder to grab him by the hand. She brought it up to her face, and he realized his peril too late. Her tongue flitted out, lapping up a bit of his blood. He recoiled at once, cradling his injured hand to his chest, but the deed was done. Curious. She let him go, smacking her bloody lips with a pleased hum. And strangely sweet. Dulled by fear though it was, Naruto's mind gradually began to comprehend who he was speaking to. He gulped once and felt his blood run cold. Demon. This was a demon. There could be no denying her inhuman nature. She didn't even try to hide it. This was no feral demon. This was something greater. Stronger than him at any rate. I'm not ready for this. Ready or not, here she was. His gaze strayed. Kaijuro slept soundly in the lean-to, only a few yards away. If he called out, "Do not raise your voice," all levity left her voice in an instant intoned. "I come in peace, little slayer." Wait. She sniffed once, then amended her words with a laugh. No, not a slayer. Not yet. Peace? After licking him? His hand flew to his sword, gripping the hilt so hard he heard it creak. He took on a stance and inhaled deeply, narrowing his concentration to a single point. He'd not faced a demon before, but he was confident in his skills. This wasn't a good demon, if there even was such a thing. He just needed to take her head before she took his. Wait. Only then did he realize his wound was mended, because he could grip his sword again. A startled blink confirmed it though bloodied, his finger was whole once more. Why? Had the woman done something? He couldn't have healed on his own just now. No. Surely not. Not that fast. Right. Feels better, no? The woman's red eyes danced with thinly concealed mirth. You're welcome. Anger boiled back to life in him. Identify yourself. Peace. She repeated. A pale palm rose and he glimpsed her clawed fingers. I mean you no harm. I asked you a question? He grit his teeth. Who are you? My name? That drew a slow, almost lazy blink from her. It is of no importance. Naruto very much believed it was. If you must know, she shifted just so and sprawled herself out across the boulder, granting him the glimpse of an alabaster leg and the curve of her hip. Besides, think of me as a good Samaritan, of sorts. A single strand of ebony hair fell past her ear, and she ruthlessly tugged it back into place with thin fingers. The demure act failed to hide her smile, or her fangs as she grinned at him. A simple stranger, passing by in the night. After all, idly, he noticed a gourd of sake clutched in her offhand. It's a lovely evening for a drink, don't you think? For his blood, apparently. Calm yourself. Your plight has touched my heart. As he looked on, she laid a hand upon her bosom and leaned forward. If you wish to save your mother, I know of a way. Naruto forced his hand to uncurl from his hilt. And what way is that? Her smile grew decidedly sly. Make her a demon. A blonde brow rose. You're kidding me, right? It is a most generous offer. She lifted a saucer of sake to her full lips and drank deeply before continuing. You would never need fear for her life again. Any disease that plagues her would be burned away. He twitched and her smile grew yet further as she lowered her palm. Your mother would remain forever as you remember her, never falter, never fall sick, never grow old and die. Is that not what you wish? To have her by your side, watching over you forever? He gnashed his teeth. At the cost of her humanity. Her smile told him he'd walked right into her trap, though he knew not what it was. Such a simple word. What is human nature but demonic nature? No. This was madness. She wouldn't be able to go outside ever again. It is not such a hindrance as you think. See for yourself. His every sense screamed a warning. For all that, he was too slow. In his first life he might well have seen it coming and reacted in time. In this one, he barely had time to blink before she was off the boulder and upon him. What is it you once said? A clawed finger touched his forehead, pricking at his skin. You want to make peace with demons? She scoffed, lips a breath from his own. How can you do such when you're so pitifully weak? How do you know that? I have my ways. Her smile was nothing short of sly. Perhaps you should become a demon yourself. Then you would better understand us. His throat closed. What? You're quite the lucky man, Naruto. Her hand shifted from his head to cup his cheek. Under normal circumstances I would never make such an offer as this. He tensed. So why are you? Curiosity, I suppose. You intrigue me. Her fingers dug into his face, preventing him from pulling away. That said, I am quite familiar with the malady from which your mother suffers. When he didn't object, she prattled on. It is a wasting disease. She lives for now. But that will soon change. Her words grew dour. Soon enough, her lungs will fail. Before that, her mind will go. By the end, she won't even recognize you. Naruto yanked his sword free from its scabbard. The woman clicked her tongue and something ripped it from his hands. It flew over his shoulder and landed in the dirt. Careful, now. She wagged a finger at him. You have spirit. I like that, but do not test my patience. He stalked away. We're done here. You will find no cure. The woman did not raise her voice when he turned his back. There was no need. The best you can hope for is 2 years, 3, if you want to watch her descend into madness. In truth, she likely has one. Naruto grit his teeth until he felt his jaw ache. He knew he was being baited. Even a rookie could see such. It didn't stop him from rising to said bait. You don't know that. I know a great many things, boy. She crossed one leg over the other, seemingly uncaring as he retrieved his blade. More than you can possibly imagine. He tried not to stare when she began to drink again. Time has granted me much. Here at last, a note of sympathy threaded its way into her words. He couldn't be sure if it was genuine. You will lose her. Such is the fate of all things mortal. Still, to make her a demon. And what would I have to give you in return? The woman gave him a beatific smile. Nothing. Nothing? Paranoia reared its ugly head. This was a trick of some sort. I don't believe you. Your belief is inconsequential. Her voice held a low, silken lilt to it now, and it set off all manner of alarms in his head. You have nothing I want yet. You needn't give your answer now. Without warning she pulled away. Time means little to me. Go. She patted his cheek as one might when sending a lover or a dear friend off to war. Face your trial, once again. Her smile told him she knew far too much about what he was to face. Rise through the ranks. Become a Hashira. You will see. You'll find no solace in the arms of humanity. Something about her words struck him. Who are you really? The air shimmered between them. Do you know me? The woman tilted her head, her full lips quirking into a smile. Do you know what I am? Do you want to know my name? Naruto had a feeling he was going to regret this, but curiosity had him now. There could be no turning back. Yes, this is what I am called. The clouds swept in from on high, blotting out the light of the moon above. Shadows crept in to drench them in darkness. She leaned in with a wicked smirk, eyes aglow in the black. Pale lips brushed his ear, and she spoke. 1 year, Naruto. Her voice was a whisper, sending a shiver of dread shooting down his spine. I'll be waiting. And remember. Pale hands flitted out, cupping him by the face. Her forehead kissed his, bringing with it the faint scent of blood. When he tried to look into her eyes, they were closed. A small, secret smile plucked at her full lips, almost as if she were savoring the moment, storing it away for later. It's our little secret. Wind kicked up, forcing him to shield his face. When he blinked, the moon shone on, as it always had. 0.0.0.0. Naruto was pensive come dawn. Kaijuro wondered why. Perhaps he was dwelling on the past, and so they trudged on in comfortable silence, neither speaking a word. 0.0.0.0. Wisteria bloomed wildly upon Mount Fujicasein. Even out of season, great trees of the violet flower flowed from the mountain's base, right up to the slope. They seemed to glow in the low light, leaving a lively vibrancy in the night. It was beautiful, no two ways about it, a rare sight that few could claim to have seen and lived. Here at last, a faint smile crossed Naruto's face. Fujicasein Mountain was it was lovely. The mere act of ascending that worn stone staircase soothed his soul. His thoughts turned outward, focusing on the present rather than the past or the future. Shinjuro had given them an inkling of what they were to face here, but seeing, as they said, was believing. It would be held here, their first and final test. Live or die. 1 year, Naruto. He shivered and rubbed at his arm. Kaijuro slapped his shoulder, hard enough to sting. Ow! He rounded on him, rubbing his sore limb. What was that for, you big lug? Merry laughter greeted his thunderous scowl. Just making sure you're awake, brother of mine. Leave it to his beloved brother to try and cheer him up. But they weren't little kids anymore. Vengeance would be his. A blonde brow began to twitch. Kyojuro, ha! It was a joke. Nothing more. Thankfully for him, they crested the steps at that moment, and whatever anger he might have felt was stolen away by the sight that awaited them beyond. Wow! If the mountain had been grand, this area was nothing short of lively. Red pillars dotted the landscape beyond, strewn with strange hung flags he didn't recognize. Not quite arched, but noticeable all the same. 6 in all, they led up toward a pair of staircases twisting away into the mountainside. A pair of young children clad in violet kimonos stood before either, one with dark hair, the other black. Twins? Still, there were so many people. Dozens, at least. He espied 2 young boys off to one side, one with dark hair and deep blue eyes, darker than even his own. Clad in a red haori and black hakama complete with white leg wraps and matching sandals. Completing the odd ensemble, he wore a strange mask of some sort on the side of his head, white with light blue eyes. A warding mask, perhaps? Why did it look like a fox, and why did he like that? His comrade couldn't have been stranger. if only because of his peach-colored hair and the scar etched into the side of his face. He wore a green yukata patterned with wild hexagons of green on yellow tied off near the waist with a bit of black fabric. He too wore one of those strange warding masks on the side of his visage, though the low light prevented him from seeing its color. Lavender eyes met his across the way. He nodded once and unbidden, Naruto found himself returning it. Kaijuro hummed at his side. It seems there's quite a few newcomers this year, seems like it. Naruto let his gaze stray yet further. There was a particularly flashy-looking fellow lurking near the entrance. He couldn't quite see him from this angle, but he noted him, all the same. Pale hair and red eyes, one of which was marked with an odd tattoo near his brow. Clad in dark clothes, he stood apart from the rest, with a single golden band wrapping each bicep. Tall, too. Maybe it was best not to approach him. "Hello?" a soft voice called out, jarring him out his reverie. Naruto pivoted on one heel and beheld a girl of slender build in dark clothes waving at him across the way. Huh, was his first thought. She's kinda tall for her age. The next thing he noted was her hair, long and straight, reaching just below her waist, bound by two butterfly clasps. Her eyes were unlike anything he'd ever seen, if only because they didn't seem to have pupils. They were just saw bright, lively even. Maybe a little slanted towards the inside of her face, but nonetheless all too keen. "You there!" She flailed her hand his way. "Yes, you. Might we have a moment of your time?" By contrast, the girl beside her was even shorter. Her wavy hair faded from black into a dark purple, curtain bangs framing her face. Although their attire matched, little else did. She wasn't smiling. If anything, she looked rather cross at the moment. "Wait, why were they headed this way?" "Sister." The smaller girl hissed at the larger. "What are you doing? We're not here to make friends." "This is foolish." Now the taller of the two wouldn't be swayed. "There's nothing wrong with a little chit-chat, surely?" Naruto and Kaijuro exchanged a baffled look. The latter shrugged. "They seem nice?" "Nice, he says." Naruto rolled his eyes. "Your words, not mine." In no time at all their girls were upon them, and there was no escape. "And you are?" "Kane Kocho." The older of the two offered her hand with a genteel smile. "This is my younger sister, Shinobu." Naruto tilted his head, not quite comprehending that strange smile of hers. "And the two of you came over to us because we'll be facing a great many demons tonight." Kane hummed as she cupped both hands and laid them against her cheek. "There's strength in numbers, no?" Rengoku boomed a laugh at that. "Indeed. I am Kaijuro. This is my elder brother, Naruto. We would be happy to have you." Naruto's head whipped toward him with an audible crack. "We would? How wonderful! Why don't we shake on it?" Naruto twitched. For crying out loud, much to his chagrin, Kane closed her eyes and wiggled her arm his way again, still wearing that with that strange smile of hers. He didn't budge. "Seriously?" Neither did she. "Aren't you going to shake my hand? Pushy little thing. You're really persistent, you know that?" "So I've been told." With a long-suffering sigh, he stepped in to clasp her palm. He immediately noticed the calluses in her grip. For all her dainty appearance, her grip was strong, not so harmless as she seemed after all, this one. In his peripherals he saw Kaijuro do the same with a sullen Shinobu. Meh. She'd crumble eventually. One simply could not stay angry with his younger brother. It just wasn't possible. "So you've both come here to slay demons, yes?" Naruto winced. Hey now, some might be harmless. He knew it was a stretch, but his beliefs still held even after all these years. Surely there were some good demons out there. Had to be. Some might have become demons for reasons beyond their control. And then there was that strange woman he met last night. She could have squashed him like a bug, but instead she'd let him live. No, demons weren't all black and white. There were shades of gray. So much gray. Shinobu saw his expression and scoffed. "You're mad. We can't get along with demons, let alone befriend them." Kane's lips pressed into a thin line of disapproval. Remarkably, Naruto realized the expression wasn't directed toward him, but her sister. Shinobu flinched beneath it. "Your sister seems to disagree." Credit where it was due, Kaijuro supported him all things and stepped up beside him. Even so, I believe in my brother. It was the wrong thing to say to Shinobu, because she absolutely glared at him for it. Still, he buelled onward. Surely there's some good mixed in among the bad. Nonsense. Demons are demons. It was, however, the right thing to say to Kane. My. Her hands clasped his, startling the younger blonde. I'm so glad you agree. Shinobu clearly didn't. Naruto preened a little. Why don't we just agree to disagree, eh? You're playing a dangerous game. Shinobu grabbed him by the sleeve. You'll get yourself killed. He laughed at her concern. Are you worried about little Oelmi? She scowled. Her palm whistled toward his face. He caught her by the wrist. Nice try, everyone. Naruto stiffened as the one of the doll-like girls at the entrance finally spoke. Everyone, the odd duo spoke anew in unison, almost eerily so. We thank you for coming here tonight to the final selection of the Demon Slayer Corps. Silence fell upon the mountain. It gave Shinobu the chance to tear her arm free from Naruto's grasp. He let her go, eyes focused firmly on the children. There are demons imprisoned here on Mt. Fujikase, captured alive by Demon Slayer swordsmen, and unable to leave. One of the twins paused, only for her other half to continue in her stead. That is because wisteria, which demons hate so much, blooms even out of season from the bottom to halfway up the mountain. Kaijuro thumbed his chin. So that's what father meant. Naruto hushed him. Let me listen. However, there is no wisteria from this point on. The darker of the two intoned. So a great many demons abound. You'll need to survive her for 7 days to pass the final selection. Her pale-haired twin echoed. Those who do so and make their way to the peak shall be rewarded. Together, they bowed as one being. And now, be on your way. Everyone went mad. Stoic swordsmen and stern swordswomen who had been the very picture of health moments ago now began to panic, no doubt unprepared for the ordeal of surviving a full week on the mountain with little to no resources. Naruto read many of them at a glance. Most hadn't brought anything with them beyond their blades, having thought this to be a simple test. Soon enough, people began to pair up. It began slowly. 2 grouped up here, a third there, but soon enough it became obvious. Within 2 minutes many hopeful slayers had sought strength in numbers. Rare was the initiate who ventured into the woods alone. Was that why Kane had approached them first? Perhaps she'd sensed their strength and gravitated toward them because of it? He doubted they were the strongest here, or even the best prepared. They had food enough for 3 days, and that was assuming they rationed it carefully. Why choose them in the first place? Naruto flicked a glance Kaijuro's way. Still smiling as ever, nothing seemed to faze his brother. In the end, he supposed it didn't matter. They were here now. Might as well make the best of it. Well? Kane's smile was all too confident. Shall we be off then? Naruto and Kaijuro exchanged a bemused glance. As one, they bolted into the forest at a dead run. Kane and Shinobu faltered behind, then raced after them. The gap widened at first, then shrank bolder when it became clear they weren't going to break off from one another. Not one of them knew the hell awaited them, but they would soon enough. Soon, indeed. It's been so long since I tasted human flesh. The demon surged out of the undergrowth with a mad cackle, eyes fixed on the quartet of startled humans standing before him. 4. After all this time. How lucky he was. He'd eat them all. Flesh. So hungry. So very, very hungry. All for him and no one else. So great was its hunger, that it didn't even deign to consider the danger, didn't even hesitate as the tallest of the 4 stepped forward. A tan hand went for his blade, but slowly, far, far too slowly. Fool! He wouldn't be fast enough. Blue eyes filled his vision, breathing. 5th form. He heard the tail end of a throaty whisper as sword slid free from its scabbard. Coco. Then the blonde shot past, and rather than the sweet succor of flesh he sought, the demon tasted only empty air. Not air. Steam. Hot. It burned. It boiled. His lunge turned into a faltering stumble, leaving him writhing on the ground. The scalding steam came on in a rush of heat, leaving him writhing in the mud. Pain. Everywhere. Everything was burning. Move. He had to move, before. Footsteps drew closer. Yup, it's like I thought. Flame breathing really ain't for me. I mean, I can use it, but Dad says I'm no good at it. He's right. His killer turned slightly, a moonlight silhouette in the night. I can't control it very well. These days I've got my own style, though it's not a very kind one. He touched a hand to the katana at his belt and drew it once more. It was a bright, vivid red, like the sun itself. I hope you appreciate this. You have no idea what I had to go through to wield this sword, suppress my instincts, to make this a reality. No, wait. The demon struggled upright, realizing what is about to transpire. Mercy! I won't do it again, liar. Those baleful blue eyes narrowed upon high. I can feel your emotions. You're rotten. Twisted. He planted one foot forward. Demon breathing. Are you kidding me? How is that a style? His blade blazed gold. Ninth form, and he swept it forth. Kurama. Twisted eyes bulged as giant fox skull came to light, formed out of the ether, as if it had always been there. Burning a bright golden black, it dwarfed him. It saw him. It smiled at him. The blonde's blade crashed down, and it responded, surging forth at his command. Its very presence tore through the ground, uprooting tree in its wake. Couldn't dodge. Couldn't evade. No hope. The demon slumped to its knees. What is this guy? He's not human. He's... Massive jaws closed down on him, and he knew no more. 0.0.0.0. Delicious. Kane paused, a morsel of food clutched in her chopsticks, just shy of her mouth. Delicious. Shinobu's right eye began to twitch violently, promising pain. Delicious. Naruto palmed his face with a sigh. Not again. Delicious. Kaijuro continued to eat at a breakneck pace, blissfully unaware of it all as he polished off his boxed meal. Each bite was something to be savored, each morsel met with a joyous declaration of delicious. In the end, it was Kane who found her voice first. Is he always so exuberant? Pretty much. Naruto shrugged and began to tuck into his own bento. He's usually like this. Mom makes good food. Really appreciates it, you know? Shinobu flung up her arms. He's saying after every bite. Make him stop, he chuckled inwardly. Oh, sweet summer child. As if it were that simple. One did not simply stop Kaijuro from enjoying his dinner. Let unsaid was the fact that these might be the very last meals Ruka Rengoku ever made for her sons. With her health deteriorating, she could barely move, let alone prepare food. Neither were willing to admit that, of course. And so they dug in with singular enthusiasm, savoring the feast for what it was. Kane tittered softly to herself, content to let them be. Shinobu had other plans. Enough of that. I can't hear myself think. Kaijuro's smile didn't falter, not once, even when she thumped him on the back of the head. He continued to enjoy his meal to his heart's content as the sun sank lower on the horizon. He did, however, finally stop exclaiming after every bit. He'd take the miracle for what it was. Speaking of miracles, against all odds, and despite all their best efforts to the contrary, the demons appeared to be actively avoiding their group. Nearly a full day had passed in relative peace since they'd stumbled upon that first one, with not even the merest of skirmishes since. At a glance it didn't seem possible. The creatures here were not only starved of flesh, but they were wild. Feral. Nearly no reason or logic left in them. And yet their little group of 4 had been left unmolested. Tonight that might very well change, but still, it gave them a chance to prepare. So they'd done what anyone would do. With the sunrise, they'd set up camp and tucked into their provisions. Kane had been shooting him some very curious looks since then, likely due to his breathing style, but he had long since resolved himself to ignore her. He wasn't about to spill any more of his secrets than he already had. 1 day down. 6 to go. Almost made him smile, it did. Survive for 7 days, eh? The Chunin exams had been more difficult tack. The pressure in his head spiked, and he clutched at his skull with a hiss. What's a Chunin exam? He shook the odd thought away and grit his teeth against the pain. Don't think about it. He didn't have time for this, needed to prepare. There was strength in numbers certainly, and while that likely played a part, Naruto couldn't quite dash his suspicions. Was something holding them back? Or someone? 1 year Naruto. A chill shot up his spine, leaving him shivering for an altogether different reason. Was this what woman's doing? No. It was probably just a coincidence. Had to be. There were a lot of candidates this year. They might have gotten lucky this time around. Or perhaps they were simply biding their time, gathering their numbers to strike. Aren't you finished to eat your meal, brother? Naruto flicked Kaijuro a black look over his shoulder, and found him eyeing his half-eaten meal. Are you still hungry? His stomach growled. No, he exhaled in a long-suffering sigh. The things we do for family. Here. Many thanks. Kaijuro accepted it with open hands and dove into it merrily. I knew it. Kane muffled a giggle behind her hand. For all your fire, you're just a big softy. That's libel. He jabbed his chopsticks at her. Take it back. She caught them with her own, fending him off. Softy, don't let your guard down, either of you. Shinobu's voice cut through their merriment as surely as a demon's claws. We're bound to run into more demons sooner or later, Naruto huffed. Was it possible for anyone to be more of a buzzkill? He didn't think so. Look, he clacked his chopsticks at her, drawing a grimace from the girl. I don't like waiting any more than you do, but demons aren't going to come out during the day, and it's not like they expect us to kill every demon on the mountain. A distant explosion rumbled somewhere in the dark woods behind them. Ha! A young man's voice carried, echoing against the mighty boughs. Now that's flashy. Come at me. We'll take you all on. Well, Kane hummed, at least someone's having fun. Shinobu started to her feet. Should we help him? Now, she tugged her sister back down. I'm sure he can handle himself. Besides, it doesn't sound like he's alone, no? Naruto recalled the man with white hair he'd glimpsed near the entrance. Unbidden, he remembered his imposing physique and those wickedly large blades at his back. Somehow, he doubted that one was in any danger. It would take more than a few lower-class demons hurt him. Least of all if he had backup. Yeah, he concurred with a nod. He's got this. So, while we're waiting, Kane chirped, eyes aglow. Do either of you use more than one breathing style? Naruto cast a despairing glance Kaijuro's way. He found no help there from his twin. His brother only shrugged as he ate. Blasted girl was fishing for gossip again. She'd been like this the moment they started up the mountain, and unveiling his breathing form hadn't helped. Nosy girl almost reminded him of someone. After nearly a day he felt he was beginning to get a read on the Kocho sisters. Kane loved to talk, not simply to hear the sound of her own voice as some did, but because she genuinely seemed to enjoy making friends in this selection. It had taken him a few hours to realize it, but once he did, it warmed his heart. By contrast, Shinobu was blunt. Almost exceedingly so. Not angry, mind you, just forthright in all she did, to the exclusion of all else. If she didn't like something, she'd let you know. And oh, was she glaring at him now. Kaijuro betrayed him with a laugh. We both use flame breathing, although as you've seen, my brother has other talent. Shoo! Naruto elbowed him out. Don't go giving away my secrets. I'll lose my edge. Why not? Kane clapped her hands once. We're all friends here, aren't we? Shinobu scoffed. Friends with the crazy boy who wants to befriend demons. Naruto craned his neck back. Wanna say that again, short stack? Shinobu flashed him a smug smile, mimicking her sister with innocence. My, you look angry. Did I say something to upset you? Go on. Naruto wanted to throttle her, but settled for a smile as he hefted the remnants of his meal. Say it again. Certainly. Her lips thinned, radiating restless anger. You're mad. Cracked. Insane. Good enough for you? Kaijuro's bento box smacked Shinobu in the face, spattering her with food. Kane crashed backward, shoulders shaking with silent mirth. Her sister jerked upright, red-faced and sputtering. This means war. 0.0.0.0. Sabito cracked his neck. Did someone scream just now? Perhaps it was just his imagination? 0.0.0.0. How did I get suckered into this again? With daylight came more than chance to simply catch a meal. Reprieves aside, it gave the unlikely quartet a chance to rest and prepare for the night ahead. Sleeping in shifts was the only way to make certain of this. In such hostile territory, one person must be awake at all times to keep watch and warn of danger. Anything less would see them wiped out. Sure, stick me with the last watch. A certain blonde grumbled to himself. Not like I'm tired or anything, no, don't mind me. Naruto blew out a sigh as he watched the sun creep lower over the horizon. There was still light for now, but the shadows were growing ever longer. Soon night would be upon them, and the hunt would begin anew. He doubted the second night would be easier than the first. The deeper they went, the more likely they were to encounter powerful demons. Maybe this time they'd actually stumbled upon something that could put up a half-decent fight. He was growing restless. Something nagged at his senses. A faint rustle in the brush drew his attention just shy of their campsite clearing. He paid it little heed at first. Could be a squirrel or a bird for all he knew. Wouldn't do to jump at shadows. Still, he shifted himself toward it, not entirely willing to ignore the noise either. Skrch. Naruto spun in place as the noise grew louder, hand flying to the hilt of his blade. Show yourself. He hissed out. Demon or human? The rustling only intensified further. I'm warning you. Behind him, his sixth sense shrieked a warning and he spun to face the threat. But rather than face a terrifying demon, he found himself staring at something else altogether. Eh? He looked down, lips pursing in a frown. A kid? Who are you? A little girl, clad in a green gown, that's what she was. Poor thing couldn't have been more than 5. 6 at a stretch. Inhuman hazel eyes regarded him, framed by a thin green hair and cracked skull mask atop her head. The deep crack ran along the left side of it, trailing down into a scar that from her forehead, offset by a crimson line that stretched across her face well below her eyes that looked terribly startled to see him. Not a soul moved. Neither dared to breathe. His heart lurched. Human or demon? Downwind of her, he couldn't tell. Abruptly, she touched a finger to her lips. Hungry. There was a faint lisp to the word, like she couldn't form it quite properly somehow. He didn't dare budge. Last chance? Are you a demon? Her head bobbed, but her gaze wasn't drawn to him, rather, the rabbit roasting over their fire. It had been a recent catch before they turned in, something to save for later. A thin line of drool ran out the corner of the girl's mouth as she eyed her prize. Grumble. Was her stomach growling? Did demons eat other things besides humans? Never once taking his eye from her, Naruto reached back and grabbed the skillet. It sizzled his hand, but he didn't cry out for fear of startling her. Her eyes tracked the rabbit like a hawk, paying him no heed whatsoever. A quick flick of the wrist caused her head to snap to the side, following the sudden motion. If I give this to you, he rasped, will you leave us alone? Her little head bobbed anew, fervently this time. Here. He divested the hair from the pan and flung it her way. The slightly roasted rabbit arced end over end to land at her feet. Her eyes lit up. Then she dove on it. Small hands tore it apart, sharp teeth biting down eagerly, hungrily, bones cracking in her mouth. She nearly swallowed it whole, such was her haste. Naruto recoiled, startled by the ferocity. You got a name? Those large eyes considered him for a long moment. And then, you're nice. She chirped happily. Not like those other guys. Thanks. You pass. Naruto stumbled half a step. A bead of sweat ran down his brow, tickled his cheek, and dripped down his chin. What was that last bit? Other guys? Why do I have the feeling I just dodged certain death? The sensation left him a moment later, and he shook his head. She looks harmless, but it felt like I was in danger for a second there. He considered the child anew. Danger? From this little sprite? She seemed harmless. Mustn't lower his guard. Hey, mister! A pudgy, bloody hand reached out for him, tiny fingers splayed. Let's be friends. Friends? Naruto's brow shot into his hairline. Just like that? Yup. Blue eyes gave the dirty palm a grave look, considering as one might a snake. One shouldn't truck with demons. He was already on the verge of making a deal with one already. Did he really want to risk the attention of another, harmless though she seemed? Screw it. If she was gonna kill me, she would have by now. On a whim, Naruto stepped closer. She didn't budge. Rather, she simply continued to stare up at him with those guileless eyes. If she was dangerous, he could cut her down, but he didn't sense any ill intent. Anxiety perhaps, but most of it was fear of him. Nothing untoward. He knew he was taking a risk A monumental one that. If this was a trick, and she had allies waiting in the wings, he reached out and took her hand in his. Her tiny palm was dwarfed by his larger fingers. I'm Naruto. And you are? Oh. Those large, hazel eyes flooded in a quick blink. Nell forgot to introduce herself again. Itsugo's gonna be mad. Itsugo? Nell? He tilted his head, considering the child anew. What kinda names are those? Nell is Nell. She puffed out her cheeks and stomped a foot. Who else would she be? It was impossible to be mad at her. His guard slipped, despite his best efforts to maintain it. A quick glance over his shoulder confirmed that the others were still sleeping. Good. His gaze swung back to the oddly named girl. Don't you eat humans? Itsugo says I shouldn't. She pulled a face and stuck out her tongue. But that's okay. I don't like him anyway. They taste icky. A thought occurred to Naruto just then. This Itsugo of yours, are they a demon too? Are they nearby? Nell looked down, eyes gone watery. Sore subject it seemed. Ah. All right, you don't have to answer me. His hand stroked her mask. She seemed to like that, because she leaned her head into it with a pleased hum. You seem friendly enough. He found himself reverting to his old mannerisms. This girl was younger than Senjuro, but she reminded him of his little brother all the same. Should probably run along though, she chewed at her lower lip. Well, Nell can't run away thanks to those icky flowers, but that's okay. Nell has a plan. That hadn't been what he meant at all, but he jumped on it. Plan? Are you trying to escape from here? Yeah. Her head bobbed. I have to find Itsugo again. So if Nell can't walk down the mountain or fly away, she leaned closer, eyes burning with childlike glee. Nell's gonna dig her way out. Naruto blinked. He blinked real hard, tried to imagine it, and failed. I didn't think that's possible, Nell. She grinned as only a child could. In the end he didn't have the heart to dissuade her. Run along now. He gave her a nudge. My comrades might not take too kindly to you when they wake up. K. She gave him a gap-toothed grin. You're a nice guy, so Nell's gonna warn you. He frowned. Warn me about what? There's a big demon in this forest. She raised her little hands high over her head, trying to empathize the word. Lots of hands. Tough neck, too. Don't let him kill you, okay? She scurried off. Paused at the edge of the wood, lingering in the shadows. Took a deep breath and, bye, big brother. She flailed her arm at him. Nell will see you again. Naruto's heart gave a lurch. He clutched at it with a wheeze. Too cute. Still, he shook his head and watched her go. That was a kind thing you did. A soft voice cooed at his back. How long have you been watching us? Long enough. Kane's chin came down over his shoulder. Together, they observed the girl as she scampered away into the dark. Poor thing. To become a demon at such a young age. It must have truly been a horrific experience she endured. She's harmless. She straightened to stand beside him. That may be so, but take care. What do you mean now? He recoiled as she flicked his forehead. What was that for? Because, for an instant her smile slipped and he was granted a glimpse of the warrior beneath. Kindness is a perfectly good thing in moderation, but too much of it will get you killed. Do be a bit more careful next time, won't you? That could have been a trap. He thought of his family, of Mom, and bit back a sigh. Trap, she said? He'd already been caught in one. It's a little late for that. Nonsense. She tweaked his cheek, causing him to jump. It's like I always tell Shinobu, it's never too late to learn from your mistakes. Or to get killed by them. The ghost of a smile touched his lips. You're mocking me, aren't you? Am I? Just like that, Kane's smile slammed back into place. My, she closed her eyes with a smile and touched clasped hands to her right cheek. Would I ever say such a cruel thing? Yes, a voice whispered in the back of his head, something tell me you absolutely would. Naruto didn't dare say it aloud, of course. He didn't have a death wish. No fool, You're a little scary when you get serious, Kane. I haven't the foggiest idea what you mean. She strode past him, only to pause at the last instant. One more thing. Quick as can be, she leaned in. You really are devoted to your dream, Naruto. Her lips brushed the outer lobe of his ear, drawing a pleasant shiver from him. I like that about you. Really, I do, thanks, but you really ought to stop holding back unless you want Kaijuro to die. His heart skipped a beat. How did you know I was? I'm a big sister. We know these things. She sauntered past, hips swaying. Good night, Naruto. I'll wake the others. Something shook the earth, rattling the world underfoot. A distant tremor. Kane ignored it. As did Naruto. Just another distant conflict. Behind him, the shadows boiled. His sixth sense shrieked. Kane! She pivoted, but too slowly. Naruto charged forward in an instant, shouldering her aside. No sooner had he done so than a dozen green-gray grasping hands seized him in her place, dragging him down. His sword flashed out, severing three, but even as he did more clamped down, restraining his sword arm. It all happened so quickly. One moment he was shoving her away, the next he found himself hauled back. He dug his feet in, trying to sew himself to no avail. The last thing he saw was her horrified face gaping back at him, transfixed by fear. He had time enough to hiss out a warning. Run! Then they hauled him into darkness. Many hands, they were everywhere and everything, grasping at his flesh, tearing into his skin, trying to rip him apart even as they hauled him away into the dark. One of them had him by the leg, but he couldn't cut it at this angle. He simply wasn't fast enough. For every one he severed, three more took its place in an instant. No matter how many hands he hacked away, there always seemed to be more keeping him at bay, dragging him down and hauling him further away from his friends. He could still hear Kane's horrified scream echoing in the distance. Blast it all, he didn't even know where he was anymore, let alone where the hands were dragging him. Wherever it was, it couldn't be any good. Trees flashed by in a mottled green blur as they thrashed him to and fro. He felt his back crack against a particularly solid oak, and his right shoulder was hit. Pain flared up his collarbone as he choked down a snarl. With neither word nor warning, the hands ripped him into a clearing and he found their source. He soon wished he hadn't, if only because the sight nearly made him gag. What the hell is that thing? It was a grotesque demon, twisted and morphed. All wide and large, and so very, very green. Covered in covetous hands from head to toe, it was a creature straight out of nightmare. Its maw yawned wide as he hurtled toward it, ready to swallow him whole. Dangling him over it now. Move, blast you! Arching his back with all his might, Naruto reared up and glared at the hands holding his ankles. Here at last he had an angle on them. His blade flicked out. Blood spurted. Gravity reasserted itself with a vengeance, and he crashed toward the forest floor. It was only his training that saved him. He hit the dirt on bent knee and flicked his blade upward, eviscerating another torrent of grasping hands that tried to drag him back in, then leaped away. Distance. He needed distance. Now, what's this? Ghastly golden eyes squinted at him as he scrambled away. Has another sweet little fox cub come to me? Those hideous slits shivered in delight. Little foxa, as he looked on aghast, it counted off on his many fingers. You're number 12, now, he frowned. 12 what? The 12th brat of his I'm going to kill, of course. A merry giggle rent the air. I may have missed that girl and that other brat, but not you. A giant finger pointed at him. You don't have the mask, but I know those whiskers. You must be one of Urokadaki's. I don't know who you're talking about. That massive head tilted. It doesn't matter. You're already dead, boy. Naruto felt the ground shift beneath him too late. A torrent of fists burst from the earth, striking him in the chest to launch him away. Blood burst from his lips as he struck a tree. This time, there could be no ignoring the pain in his shoulder. His right arm hung limp and useless. His sword clattered to the floor. He snatched it up with his good arm, hating himself for the slip. Even as tried to stand, his left leg buckled as another hand closed around it and squeezed, pulping the joint. The hand demon could have finished him, then. Instead it let go and cackled. Poor little fox. Those hands cupped its face as it giggled. Finally out of gas, are you? You're going to die alone, just like the rest. This was it. He was going to die here. He was alone and down his sword arm. Kaijuro and the others were too far away. There wasn't any help around for miles. If there was, everyone was steering well clear of the creature. He couldn't even bring himself to curse them for it. Not when he would have done the same thing. Ah, man. He hung his head with a hearty sigh. Guess this is it. Bloody blonde bangs fell over his eyes. Is this what I get for trying? Hands smashed down. Sorry, Kaijuro. He'd tree. Don't falter. His eyes snapped open. His leg snapped back into his place, and his ruined arm swept up of its own accord in spite of his injury. Muscle and bone twisted horribly, ripping the blade back into his right hand. Blue fire blasted out from the Nichiren's sword, bathing his hidden face in ethereal glow. He felt rather than saw his wounds heal. Not by much, but enough for him to stand. The hand demon hesitated. Demon breathing. Weary lungs rasped out of their own accord. Second form. Matatabi. Azure flame flared forth and flashed through the hair, annihilating the hands reaching for him. Bright as the sun and thrice as hot, the blaze tore into the arms, a hot knife through so much butter. Their heat spread like wildfire, racing up those lengthy limbs to find their host. Retracting them did no good. The flames only spread all the faster, fastening to their target with a single-minded fury. For the first time since he'd encountered it, the hand demon shrieked in pain. It burns! With a howl of pure agony, the portly creature flung itself to the ground, rolling about. It burns! The very earth shook as it shook itself to and fro, bodily thrashing about in a frantic attempt to stifle the flames that even now crawled across its form. What is this? Why does it burn? Make it stop! Naruto blinked away the haze, unable to comprehend what just transpired. One moment he'd been at death's door. The next, his adversary was doing the stop, drop, and roll. What in the world? Don't you dare give up like that again. If you die, we'll never be able to look Kurama in the eye. Had he heard a voice just now? Why did his arm hurt so much? His eyes drifted to it, noting the swelling. It was clearly dislocated. Had to set it, and quick. Do it now, while the hand demon was distracted. He swallowed the lump in his throat, eyed the nearest tree trunk, and, son of a whore, slammed it back into place. An awful clicking noise filled his ears. He ignored it and pressed on, pushing his aching body upright. Don't stop. Push forward. Fight. Avenge them. All those who had fallen. He dragged his blade into a stance and stood on quivering legs. I get it now, he growled. Even the gentlest of souls may become a demon if you push them hard enough. But even so, the hand demon thrashed its way upright, tearing great tracks out of the ground. What's that look for? But you, what you've done for all the blood you spilled, all those you've killed. His glare could have curdled milk. It ends here. His prey swore and spat, arms bunching for a single monumental burst. Calm down. He inhaled deeply, filling his lungs with fresh air. Get your breathing under control. Now they swelled with something else. Remember your training. Remember. And in that instant, Naruto remembered something else. Don't underestimate me, brat. Those hateful hands came for him again, but they seemed so slow now. He ducked one, cut apart another, and stepped forward. His blade blazed with blue fire time and time again, turning all to ash. He understood now. His arm swung down, intercepting another punch that would have surely pulped his head. It was all so simple. He just had to cut the hands before they reached him. Were they slow, or had he simply become faster? One step now. Cut. Deflect. Parry. 3 steps in succession. Slice them. Slash them. Annihilate. 5 steps, each faster than the last, quicker still. Exterminate. Exterminate. Exterminate every bit of demon flesh. No mercy for this one. Kill. 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 His mouth twisted in a snarl as he brought his burning blade up and sent it crashing down twice as fast. A pillar of unholy blue fire bloomed, reaching up into the trees. The flames Matatabi answered joyfully, roasting the hand demon alive. All the while he heard its screams, just as he could feel his arms burning, his shoulders growing uncomfortably hot. But still he forged on in a streak of blue light. So close now. Just a little more. You can't be saved. Damn you! Countless hands flailed about, grasping none. Gah! Hold still! The world spun. He didn't even realize he'd been thrown until his back struck the ground, Instinct forced his legs to kick out and right himself. Mistakes were made. Naruto flashed beneath him. His blade swept out, severing the demon's legs at the knees. It toppled forward like a fallen elm. Blood spattered the forest floor as the hand demon screamed, cursing him anew. Demon breathing. He felt something twist deep inside him, voice echoing oddly as he took another stance. First form. All around him, the last of the fires guttered out. The dirt, already pounded to sand at the demon's hands, began to rise. Sand of Shikaku. His blade kissed the ground, sweeping across the ruined soil. For a moment he could have swore a hysterical tanuki cackle in the back of his head, echoing his words. He knew this technique, though he never used it. Never been able to. And yet the knowledge itched in the back of his brain as surely as any other. Gaara. The name came unbidden to him. This was Gaara's move. Who was Gaara? His exhausted mind shoved it away and struck. Sand coffin. A sea of angry granules swept forth, swarming the hand demon, encasing him in a cocoon of hardened earth. His great bulk thrashed, and fine Naruto held him still with his will alone, grinding the grains against the demon's body. Only a demon could terrify another demon. He saw fear in its eyes now, heard it beg for mercy. Funny thing about regeneration. You needed actual flesh for it to work, and if all that flesh was pulped and mangled, well, sand burial, you were vulnerable. He closed his ears to the hand demon's heartrending screams as the coffin constricted with enough force to make a diamond. He dropped its ruined corpse to the dirt. It was already beginning to regenerate, but far too slowly. He crushed its organs, lacerated its lungs, flayed its flesh. It was weak. Vulnerable. He knew it. Even if it took a minute to recover, that was a minute in which it couldn't move. Naruto, however, could wait. He heard it beg. Just hold on. He did no such thing. Blue fire flashed forth in the night. I said wait. Mercy. Taking his blade in both hands, Naruto swung down at the demon's head. Once. Twice. Thrice. On the third swing, that thick gargantuan neck split like so much rotten wood. Even then he didn't stop. He cut down with a howl, fangs flashing with fire. Azure heat kissed the ground, burning his hands, annihilating his prey, rendering its final scream a faint, raspy gasp. He never heard its pleas. There was only the faint scent of singed flesh. Eyes stinging, lungs heaving, he planted his sword in the soil and leaned against it for support. Reality snapped back like a rubber band. Then came the recoil. Everything hurt. He couldn't move. The very act of breathing scalded his lungs. So tired. He'd used too much energy again. So dark. Why was it so dark? He could barely see. His eyes were heavy, weighing down even as he sought to keep them open. No, don't pass out, not here. His knees buckled. He swayed forward. Come on. Wake up. You have to stay awake, damn it. If he fell asleep here, the demons would find him. He'd be easy prey. Gentle arms enfolded him, pulling him upright. A faint, almost familiar scent filled his nose. Bleary blue eyes blinked, baffled by the sudden save as much as the one doing the saving. Kane? Is that you? Not quite. Not Kane's voice. Definitely not. A smooth palm patted his back, running small circles between his shoulders. You pass again. Good job. I knew you could do it. You pass. Where had he heard those words? Don't worry. I'll repay you for your kindness and the meal. Was that a woman's voice? He didn't recall giving a woman food, certainly not in this forest, but she was still speaking. Relax. Full lips kissed the back of his skull, bringing with it a sudden surge of exhaustion. Rest now. Her words were the sweetest honey, lulling him to sleep. You're safe. I'll watch over you until your friends arrive. Who was that? Naruto tried to crane his neck back, but their grip was firm, and he, weary. No, she tooted, butting the back of his head with, what was that? It felt like bone or something rubbing against the back of his skull. Bad boy. You mustn't peek. Not yet. Laughter rippled into his ear. I don't think I'll be able to hold myself back if you look at me right now. In all fairness, Naruto tried to keep his eyes open. He really, truly did. But he was just so terribly tired right now. The last thing he saw was green hair,